This video will describe the Features button in the Structural Adjustment Rules. To begin, let's provide a structure. And now we can click on the Features button, and we can click on the opening noun phrase, and let's say it can be any of the semantic rules. We can click as many as we like in the input structure. And if we specify some semantic rules, and then let's say we also click a value over here in another column for another feature, what this is saying is when this rule is executed, the software will look, as it walks through a verse, it will look for a noun phrase that's one of these values and this value over here. So if you have values checked in multiple columns, they're ANDed together. Okay, but you can check as many as you like in the input structure. And then when you come to the output structure, you can still modify features in the input structure. You can add new values, and those values will be copied down to the output structure. If you change values, like let's say we don't want it to be a beneficiary or an addressee, we just want those semantic rules, then the new values will be copied down to the output structure. In the output structure, when this rule is executed and you select multiple values up here, if you don't change those values in the output structure, then this rule won't change the values in the verse that's being translated. But if you do specify a new value down here, for example, if we select only source, then now when this rule is executed, it will set the semantic rule to source. When you're doing this, sometimes it's more accurate, it's more linguistically accurate to say you want all of the values except for a few. Like let's say we want everything except declaratives. Then we can do a right click, and you'll notice that the square is highlighted in red and is checked. That means all values except this one. We can right click on multiple cells as well. So this is saying it can be any value except these three. And when you're working on the features, if you ever need to define a new feature, you can always click the Feature Set button. And here are all of the syntactic categories that we have in TBTA. You can select the appropriate one. And then here are all the features that we have. And if you need to define a new one, you can use one of the spares. You should always start with one of the last spares, because we, at All the Word, we may occasionally use some of these new spares. We'll start with the first ones, and you should start with the last ones. For example, if we look at clauses, you can see we've used two of them in the past few months. We've added these two. All of yours, okay, these three are added by rules. So if you define a new one, you should start with the last one that's available here. So you would start with spare 11. And you can call it anything you want. You can define any values you want. And then you'll need to write rules that will set those values. And then subsequent rules will look at those values and provide the right text. So you can always add new features and new feature values.